Ladies, gentlemen, podcast listeners, podcast watchers, people who like stuff about football, welcome in. EJC NFL Pod. As always, it's Eric, it's Jason, it's Cam. We brought on our boy, Jay. What's going on, Jay?
Sure.
Not much. Glad to be here.
Heck yeah, man. I'm loving the banana thing in the background or whatever that is. It's a banana man.
Some eyeballs.
It's just some eyeballs. What's up? All right, Cam. We'll go to you next, and then we'll kind of progress from, living whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
No, so check us out. I decided I'm not even jacking the Jason's steez anymore, man. I'm straight up. I'm okay. That's my response to it. I'm doing okay.
And once again, I'm going to ask you, is everything all right?
No,
you tell me that, it makes me feel sad.
Not great, Eric. But no, I was going to just. I don't have a lot of stuff going on in this episode, so I just use this as a shameless plug for one of my favorite bands, the Low Down Dirty. Water. Oh, water. Yeah. If you haven't listened to the Low Down Dirty Rancors on YouTube and Spotify and all that good stuff, they're a great band, and their bassist is on Maxim's Top 10 Sexiest Men. So
he is a terrible friend, though. Just the worst. Well, all right. What's up, Low Down Dirty's bassist, Jason?
Hi.
Question.
What's up, guys?
How you living?
I'm living strong.
I'm not going
to watch you lose.
I was going to say, I'm never not going to ask you how you're living because I need to have it on every single episode. Yeah. So, anyways, we'll get right into it today. This one is called The Trial of Pete Carroll. So, what I'm going to attempt, as Jay shakes his head in disgust, I'm going to attempt to make the argument that Pete Carroll is not a great coach. Attempt being the operative word there. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you guys, what do y'all think about?
Yo, you gonna ask Jay how he's doing?
I already asked him, you dumbass. Were you paying attention? We're live. Hey, we're live, pal. We're live,
pal. Fuck it, we'll do it live. This is gonna be. This is gonna be.
Self together, man.
No, Jesus. All right, Keith is getting what he likes here. Keep going off the rails. Hey, so what did y'all think? So, what do y'all think about the 17-game schedule being approved finally? It's been talked about forever. Jason, I'll go to you first. What do you think, man?
I really, it's hard, man. I haven't really decided on that yet. A lot of the guys that I follow on Twitter, Alvin Kamara specifically, have been talking a whole lot of shit about it. So, I don't know, man. I tend to agree with the players a lot. So, I mean, if it's really that big of a deal to them, I mean, maybe the contract should be looked at. I'm not sure which way I lean, but I definitely see pissed off athletes. I don't know how seriously they're going to take those last few games. You might see, how we see already, kind of ditch week 17. You might see week 16 and week 17 both just kind of get ditched. Yeah. So I don't know.
That's fair. Cam's out. He had to leave again. Jay, what do you think? Do you have any differing thoughts on it, or?
I mean, I guess some rumblings have been, if they're going to potentially minimize the off-season activities like OTAs and stuff like that, mini camps. The 17th game wouldn't be that big of a deal to a lot of them, but at the same time, I'm kind of with Jason. If they don't want to do it, then so be it. And yeah, maybe week 17 would be just a second string affair, kind of thing. I don't know, but. More games equals more happiness for me. So
yeah. It's gonna be weird from a fantasy football perspective too. All of our championships are going to be played in week 17 now, so we're gonna have to start a standard 12-team league. Playoffs are going to start in week 15, 16, 17. So it'll be kind of different. But I agree with you, Jay. The more football, the better. But I also agree with you, Jason. Man, if the players have a problem with it, I'm not the one putting my body on the line. And not potentially not getting compensated enough for that. So hopefully, I'm sure everything will work out as far as the money goes and all that stuff. Cam, you had to run away real quick. Did you have any thoughts on the 17-game season?
No, it sounds like you nailed it, man. I'm right there with you. As a fan, I love it. It's awesome. Because I definitely had that. I did skip one Sunday because I was just footballed out, and then I look back after the season. I was like, I can't believe I skipped that day. Now that it's over, so I'm super stoked about it. But yeah, I mean. I feel like it'll just be like when it kicked up from 15 to 16 games way back in the day. It'll be a little bit of rowdiness, and everybody will get used to it, and it'll be the norm in a couple of years. Nobody say anything else about it.
You're right, 100%. So I wanted to go real quick over these ESPN. So there's ESPN came out with power rankings on March 29th, which was yesterday. So what they did, they polled 80 of their writers, editors, and their TV personalities. Why they asked the TV personalities, I don't know, but that's just as a aside for a different thing. These are funky. We've all four looked at them a little bit. I'm gonna read off the top 10. Tell me, I want like who doesn't even belong, or who's too high, who's too low. And then what's your general thoughts on this? So number 1, Kansas City. Number 2, Tampa Bay. Number 3, Green Bay. Number 4, Buffalo. Number 5, Baltimore. Any issues with that so far?
Not really.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of like business as usual for a lot of these teams. Like a lot of them have done what they need to in the offseason, re-signed, the impact players.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I have to
stay the same.
Yeah, perfect. And I was going to say, just to kind of go along with that, the only thing I had was the top. Like, I personally think Tampa Bay should be number 1. I'm splitting hairs on that. They're the only team that returned all 22 starters, all 11 starters from offense, all 11 starters from defense. So they just won a Super Bowl. In case we didn't, right? I think they're the only one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody else
is the only one. And Dominican's the only one they haven't re-signed, or did they re-sign him?
I think I saw that they re-signed him.
Yeah, I think they got him.
I think it was. Yeah.
I think he was re-signed. Yeah. So that's the top 5. No issues really with that. This is where I think Jason's going to have an issue. Number 6, the Los Angeles Rams. Number 7, Cleveland Brown. Number 8, Tennessee Titans. Number 9, Seattle Seahawks. Number 10, Indianapolis Colts. Jason, go ahead. You're shaking your head and discuss. Cam's shaking his head and discuss. Jason, you go first, and then we'll let Cam throw some vitriol from there as well.
I'll start it off for him.
I don't like any of it. Say what?
What'd you say, Jay?
If he's going to start off on the Titans, I wanted to kick him off with what are y'all doing in that secondary?
No, I gotta hate all of it, man. I don't like the Rams being there with a completely different quarterback in place. I feel like that's taking a big old risk right there. Cleveland, okay. I don't think they're better than Tennessee, but okay. Same thing with Tennessee. You got a gutted and rewired defense. How do you know? You know what I mean? Like I'm doing it to myself now. I wouldn't put them that far up there until I see what this defense looks like, because it's a whole new unit basically. Very few remaining members. Seattle. I mean, yeah, you got to leave them up there in the top 10 somewhere. I mean, until Russ says he's gone, until we have evidence that Russell Wilson's gone, which I don't think is going to happen. Leave them where they're at. Leave them where they usually are. And then the Colts, they don't belong there at all. Like, you don't know what Wentz is going to look like at all. I hate that. I completely hate that.
What do you think? What do you think, Jay? Any big issues with that?
I see some of the same things Jason's talking about. The Rams, I still think Stafford gets a lot of pressure, and I don't know what that really means for him. How does that translate? Browns, almost a whole new defense. It's going to be interesting to see how they gel. They're all coming from different places. I like the Colts. I think if you look at them, I mean, Wentz is really the only thing that's changed. So if Wentz comes in, and we're talking about Wentz from a couple of years ago, not last year, well, damn, the Colts. You might flip the Colts and the Rams in that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm kind of in agreement. You got Frank Reich. He's back at the Frank Reich system, all that stuff. That offensive line is going to be able to protect him. So I don't mind that at all. I do like the Rams. I'm on record saying it, and I'm not going to change anything about it. I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC. I think they're going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. I'm like, barring any injuries. Cam, you look very upset. Are you okay?
No, I'm good. You're on this Rams train, dude. You just been on this Ram train so hard. I just don't see it. I mean, they're a great team. I just don't see it. I just don't like. They're a great team.
All right. Let's make this easier. How is the Arizona Cardinals not in the top 10? Period.
Well, that's a very good segue. I was going to say this. I had this thing, but the NFC West, all 4 teams are within the top 13 there. So, like we were talking about in the past 2 or 3 episodes, that is a freaking hard division. That's going to be the toughest division in football. But we'll kind of move on from there. 11 Pittsburgh. That's disgusting to me. I'll talk about that in a second. 12 Arizona, 13 San Francisco, 14 Miami, 15 Minnesota.
Nah.
What are they smoking? Like, do any of y'all agree with Minnesota? Minnesota would be in my bottom 10 easy.
I didn't expect to hear them this early. Like, I was definitely expecting them to be on the tail end of this.
I mean, Washington and Dallas should be up above Minnesota.
100%, and that's another thing here. We won't even hit through all of these. How about this? Let's just hit the ones we think are too low. I'll throw a couple out there because this is going to take forever if I go through all these damn things. The Washington football team at 22 is crazy.
Heine King. They should be number 10 at the least.
I don't understand why they're that low. They only made improvements. They lost no key contributors on defense, which is the kind of the engine in that team. So I don't know, man. That one's weird to me. Is there anybody in like the top 20? I thought the Chargers being at 17 was a little wild as well.
Yeah.
A little high or low?
I think it's a little high, personally. Justin Herbert, his second year. I will say this: if the defense can stay healthy, that is a good team. I won't definitely not deny that. And they actually did a lot of. Okay, I'm kind of rethinking it now. They did a lot of good stuff on the offensive line there too. So, okay, I'm okay with that. What do you think, Jay? You think they're too low?
Honestly, I think they're about spot on. I mean, I think they had to do a little bit of, I guess we'll say, retooling with the offensive line, but a lot of people think that it's a positive. I don't really know.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Did they give reasonings? Like that Minnesota Vikings one, man. It's just that's weird. Did they give a reason? Like why their justification for?
So they did.
Yeah,
it was
opinionated stuff.
It was 100% opinionated stuff. It was like they brought in these guys like Rhodes, Patrick Peterson. Yeah, they brought in Patrick Peterson, stuff like that. Like it didn't make sense. Oh, Danielle Hunter is going to be healthy. You don't know that. He basically saw like 3 different specialists last year for his neck. A neck injury on a defensive end is probably not the best thing that you want to have there. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I do. I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, like all that's great. That's awesome for fantasy football. Real life football, I'm not like super enamored with that at all.
Yeah, they lost Riley Reef.
There you go. So they're losing some protection.
Probably going to lose their guard too, Dozier, which probably not going to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, I mean Reef allowed 1 sack last year, and Ben Roethlisberger sucked all year long. He was constantly pressured. Well, I can't say sucked all year long, but he was constantly pressured. He was constantly throwing these just quick short passes, just trying to get the hell out of Dodge. And that's with the left tackle that only allowed 1 sack. Now, of course, we talked about a couple weeks back QB pressures being a lot more important than a lot of people like to lead on. Yeah. But you still lost a guy in your own division to a brand new guy in Joe Burrow who's probably going to whip ass for the next 15 years.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah, man. Just that one to me was the craziest one. Was the Minnesota one. Them at 15 makes no sense. I love to see Houston right there at dead last. That one made me laugh. Poor Houston Texans fans. Bill O'Brien came in there, killed them, danced on their grave, peed on their grave, and then cursed them. That is the biggest mismanagement I've ever seen in my how many ever years I've been watching football.
That dude came into his first day drunk off his ass. That's what happened. He just fucking.
That's pretty much it. He's like, you know what I'm going to do? I need David Johnson down here. Let me trade away DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson.
What about Detroit? What about Detroit at 31? I hate that. I don't like that at all.
I think they're a little better than that. I mean, so this is something I took away from it. Maybe y'all did too, and you can kind of expound on it if you want. I thought let's just say 25 through 32 or 31 were super close. Like all those teams they're not terrible, right? So last year you had the Jags and the Jets were just doo-doo. Like they were awful. But there's honestly, man, there's really only Houston. That's an awful, awful, awful team. I think Detroit's going to be better. I think Jaguars are going to be better. The Jets are going to be. I mean, every team out there looks like they're going to be better. So I'm curious how it's all going to play out. Do y'all have that same kind of feeling, or are there some teams that are just like way below the bar for y'all?
Not kind of the same way. I do. I just want to say I am very excited to see what the Jaguars do next year. I'm very excited to see that team. Just I don't know, with the changes they're making, and obviously, unless something changed, grabbing Trevor Lawrence right off the bat, it's going to be a fun team to watch next year. So, like, of course they shit the bed this year, but next year they're going to be a fun fucking team. I'm not saying they're going to be necessarily playoffs, but they're going to be a fun team to watch.
They will be, and honestly, man, they were actively tanking last year. Like everyone knew that. When you take Gardner Minshew out and you put in, who was it? Was it Chad Henne?
Yeah, I think it was.
Who was? Anyways, it was some freaking bum. So they were actively freaking tanking. But that's all I had. That's all I wanted to say about the power rankings. I just thought Minnesota was crazy, it looks like I'm so excited for the draft because it looks like the league. It looks like it has a lot of parity for the first time in a few years. So I'm pretty pumped about that. But Jason,
you did mention something about the Steelers. And if
yeah.
you didn't, all I have to say is, where is that offensive line? Because it's gone.
100%, Jay. That was my problem. Like Ben Roethlisberger, the past 2 seasons, obviously he got hurt in 2019, were his 2 lowest average depth of target seasons in his career because he just doesn't have the arm for it anymore. So now you want him to fight for his life without an arm?
You got like 3 crucial pieces of your offensive line all up for contract in the same year. Like, that is just bad news.
It was like when me and Jason were going, I think it was just me and you for this one, the AFC North one, Jason. We were going over it. We're like, what is going on with Pittsburgh? It just looks super mismanaged. And man, yeah, has Villanueva, has he signed yet or no?
Not that I've heard of.
I haven't heard of it either. So, man, we're gonna see what
was the name of the left tackle there? What was the name of the left tackle?
Alejandro.
Earlier.
You're okay. Alejandro Villanueva is their left tackle. Alejandro.
Right tackle?
It was he's got a really hard name to pronounce.
Went to Cleveland, right?
No, San Diego.
Am I getting confused?
Wyatt Teller went from, I want to say, Buffalo to Cleveland, but that was last year.
Yeah, we talked about Riley Reef earlier. For some reason, I thought he did go to Cleveland, right?
Matt Fleeler. I'm just looking it up. I don't.
Matt Filer. He left for. Yeah, that's right. Because he was somebody I'd ID'd on a whole bunch of things. I was like, yeah, man, I really like this guy. He's a cheap contract. Played really well for the Steelers. So they lost who? They lost their center to retirement, potentially losing Villanueva. They lost Matt Filer. Who was it? The right guard, DeCastro, was like 31 or 32 years old. Dude, I don't know. I don't know. Jason and I both said it, and Cam had said it in the group chat. Blow that team up, man. Just blow them up. Keep all those good receivers, and then just get rid of everything. TJ Watt, obviously, too, but get rid of everything else.
Dude, I literally, when you were talking about
Micah Hyde.
Yeah.
I love the thought of Ben Roethlisberger fighting for his life, dude. I just had this mental image of like the pocket just completely collapsing, and he's literally trying to like swing on motherfuckers, and there's just tackling. And it's such a great. If Tran and Keith, if you're watching, man, that's such a great idea, and it just to paint that
Dean,
mental picture.
Don't forget Dean. Dean.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
everybody forgets Dean. It's all good.
Oh no. All right, that's all I got to say. Everybody good with the power ranking stuff?
It was awesome.
Let's get to this damn trial. All right, so I'll set it up. Then Jason, you take it from there. The trial of Pete Carroll. You can see it behind me right there. I am going to be the prosecutor. Cam is the bailiff. Jay is the defense attorney, and Jason is the esteemed and very sober judge. The sober as a judge. So, Jason, I'm going to just give it to you, and we can rock and roll, my man.
You want to throw Your Honor on there?
Your Honor. Sorry.
There you go. I got you, baby. Doing my job.
All right, so we're gonna keep it good and clean. Cam's job is to cut you off if you overstep. we're going to try to do this as much like, real American court as we possibly can. So I'm going to let the defense say what they need to say, and then I'm going to let the prosecution speak. Just grand opening for both of you, and then we'll go from there.
All right, time allotted. We doing 30 seconds? We doing a minute? We just gonna let it ride until you kind of give me the nod, Jason?
If it gets uncomfortable, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I don't have any say in this, so y'all go ahead.
Shut your mouth. I don't have a mouth, but you shut the fuck up. That's how we do this.
We're playing no shit.
Give Jay a minute.
All right, and you just let me know when you're ready, bud.
All right. So, Your Honor, if I may plead my case for the Seahawks, I am not a stats man, so I'm just going to come at you straight from the heart. I'm a man who probably has missed 5 Seahawks games in the last 10 years. I've seen every single one of them, and if you talk about a man who has come in and completely turned around a franchise, well, then Pete Carroll is that man. That's basically the bottom line of all I have to say. But seriously, on a very serious note, I mean, we're talking about, he's nearly been on the playoffs for every season of his coaching career with the Seattle Seahawks, except for 2. And one of them, they were very much so in the hunt. So, him and the GM together, obviously, are 2 people that are very crucial to the Seahawks. I just am a big fan. So any points that are brought up, I will probably be able to rebuttal in some way or another.
And that was exactly a minute. I'm not even joking. I just stopped it. Like,
all right, you
want to, because you did so well, you want to hurl an insult at Eric real quick? I'll allow it for this go around. You want something personal?
We're really unwarranted. Everybody can have their opinion. I don't really care. I'm just you can't tell me Pete Carroll's a bad coach. There's so many other coaches we can point fingers at, and I'm not really trying to play, look at him.
No, we're not doing whataboutism. We're not doing all that. No. Okay. So,
all right. Eric gets a minute.
1 minute. Can I get 3? Because I have a lot to say. No, I'm just.
No, you get 1 minute, and then we'll get to cross-examining.
Okay. Yeah. Easy. So you let me know whenever. And
when you start talking.
Okay. Cool. So. This is, Your Honor, this is my case on this, okay? There are 2 distinct Pete Carrolls. There's the one before Russell Wilson. There's the one after Russell Wilson. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Pete Carroll's a bad coach because that's just simply not true. Everything Jay said was true except for one thing. He said he turned around the franchise. Nay, Russell Wilson turned around that franchise. Pete Carroll was lucky enough to have him. So this is what I'll say. Before Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll was 47-49 with 2 years in the playoffs and a 2-3 playoff record. After Russell Wilson, 98-45-1, 8 years in the playoffs, 9-7, blah, blah, blah. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got 2 conference championships. It's amazing, right? It's almost like as soon as he drafted Russell Wilson, he's been carried by a Hall of Fame quarterback because he was less than 500 before Russell Wilson, even after doing a really great job, by the way. It is the 2010 through 2012 drafts. But that's my opening statement. Okay.
What was your let's make sure we understand this. What was the before Russell Wilson stat on the playoffs there?
He had 2 years in the playoffs. This is like what he coached for the Patriots actually in like 94, 95, 96, something like that. 2 years in the playoffs, a 2-3 playoff record. 2 wins, 3 losses.
What about the USC stats?
We're not talking college football. You're not.
Hold on.
They don't even coach in college football.
Order. I will hold you.
What about with the Seahawks before he drafted Russell Wilson?
14-18.
14-18.
He had 2 7-9 seasons. He made the playoffs in 2010. I think he went 1-1 in the playoffs. With was it Hasselbeck back then, Jay?
That was beast mode.
T-Jack.
Okay. So yeah,
it was Hasselbeck. It was Hasselbeck in beast mode. But
it was Hasselbeck for one season and Tavares Jackson for the other.
Exactly. So okay. And one more time, 14-18.
Tavares Jackson.
They were 14-18. He was in 2010, 2011. He was 7-9 both seasons, 14-18 before Russell Wilson.
Okay. All right.
And that's all.
Hey,
opening statement.
Order.
Bailiff is out.
Yeah, Bailiff, you tell him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, Judge, if I may, Eric, would you like to hurl an insult my way since I offered to hurl an insult, from him to you? I'll take one for the team.
You have a beard. You have a beard because you have a weak ass chin. There's my insult.
That's Judge.
Order.
Didn't expect that. Didn't expect it.
I too have a strange chin. Don't let me throw you out of my courtroom for chin contempt.
Somebody's counting over there. Cam's son is teaching him how to count over there. I just heard it.
Okay.
I hate it.
Cam's 4-year-old is teaching him how to count.
I can't.
That was 2
I'm not on my game tonight.
apologize.
I'm supposed to. Yeah, that was 2. Can we strike that from the record? Nobody can laugh at that joke ever again.
You're supposed to be controlling.
Shut the fuck up, Eric.
There we go.
There we go. All right, we're good. We're good.
All right.
Jay's just like, what the fuck did I do?
The other thing about the 2 years before Russell Wilson was drafted.
So, I think what you saw then and what you're seeing in some other instances, like in New England, for instance, you have great coaches that they have to maneuver, right? They have to basically, like I was saying earlier, like flip the franchise, right? So you have those rebuilding years, right? And I think that's the case right there. You see, if you were to go back and look at the Seahawks before Pete Carroll, you would see just a dismal team. Just terrible. I don't know if you remember the name Jim Mora, but he coached for 1 season and then he was done. That was it because of what he did with the Seahawks. And then the end of Mike Holmgren, it was atrocious. Okay, so, we're talking about, you guys remember Aaron Curry being drafted?
Sure, he played for the Golden State Warriors, didn't he?
He played for Wake Forest, but
3 seconds.
Yeah, you're talking about Steph Curry.
I know.
The other North Carolina team, not Davidson.
Davidson, baby.
Not Davidson, Wake Forest. Anyway, yeah, draft bust. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. But Pete Carroll comes in with John Snyder, also a name that should be mentioned because he's a great GM. But the tandem of those two, like you're talking about these drafts, that basically panned out later on, that's what they did, at that time. So they kind of made with what they had at that time, which turned out to be 2 7-9 seasons, which for Seahawks fans was fucking great. But,
And that's a minute 20. I gave you 20 extra seconds because Eric cut you off.
Well,
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I keep it real up in here.
All right, prosecution.
Okay, so we mentioned the drafts, right? And John Schneider, I think that's a great name to be mentioned as well. So the GM who has no authority over personnel decisions, who doesn't have the final authority over personnel decisions. And that's what I found in my research, right? So at the end of the day, this is kind of the most potent thing to my argument, I want to say, is Pete Carroll and the Seahawks organization got lucky. I'm going to say lucky. They had 3 unprecedented drafts in a row, 2010 through 2012. Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bruce Irvin, KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, whoever, Byron Maxwell, I think was the other corner's name. They had the Legion of Boom. They created that in those three drafts. Since then, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great at all. And I want to make something, the whole, I guess, Tyler Lockett 2015, Chris Carson 2017, DK Metcalf, and then they had Jerron Reed or somebody like that, the defensive tackle. He's been pretty good. Jaron, sorry, yeah. I just read his name. What has he done to help his Hall of Fame quarterback, though? Right? Since he gets credit. He gets full credit for the 2010 to 2012 drafts, 100%. Since then, he hasn't done anything.
That'll do it.
Okay.
Prosecution. Do we forget Brandon Browner? Did we forget Brandon Browner?
BB.
I was going to say, was he drafted by Seattle or was he brought in?
No,
I think he was
brought in.
Yeah, wasn't he?
Brought in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
CFL guy. Okay, so as far as like offensive line goes, yeah, they've been terrible in the draft. But there is
Jason, were you about to say something?
One glimmering name.
Okay, cool.
Let Jay have it.
Gotcha. Just checking in with you, Your Honor.
So one glimmering name in that whole thing is Russell Okung that some people forget about. He played with Seattle for, I think, 2 seasons before he was traded away. But yeah, I mean, the drafts have been terrible. And like Jason was saying, with project players like J.R. Sweezy trying to convert like a defensive lineman to offensive line, that kind of stuff didn't really pan out. But in, let's see, 2018, like right before the season, they got Mike Solari, got rid of, what's his name from Oakland? What was the coach from Oakland? I forgot his name already. Goodness gracious. No, before Gruden.
Tom Cable.
Tom Cable. He was our offensive line coach, okay? So he was the guy who's taking on all these projects and whatnot, okay? Mike Solari has basically slowly started to turn this offensive line around, and Russell probably had his best offensive line last season, which I think is a product of all of this. And it's the same with, Pete Carroll starting, he's kind of transitioning. He's developing this, this season. I fully expect, with our off-season signings and stuff like that, we'll probably improve a little bit more. So progress takes time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, prosecution.
Okay.
What the judge wants to know, is how many years. First of all, let's dial it back. What's the after Russell playoff record again?
The after Russell. So, and this is a great thing about Russell Wilson. Yeah, they're 9-7.
9-7. Okay. How many of those wins came alongside Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Nancy? How many of those teams?
I don't have that right in front of me. I know that their best years. So when Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman left after 2017. After 2017, they've had, I think it's 2 playoff wins. It's 2 or 3. Jay, you can probably tell me more, but here's what I was going to say. We talk about drafting.
Nope.
Yeah. So like 2 or 3. So like 2 or 3.
I'm gonna hold you.
I want to make sure I understand.
Okay.
So what we're saying is, as a Seattle Seahawk, before we drafted Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor, we were a 2 playoff win team. And after those players left, we're a 2 playoff win team. Correct? Is that what we established? Okay. Go ahead, prosecute.
The hell just happened over there? So I was going to say this. We talked about the draft or whatever, and how you want to take project players. Maybe the problem is not the project players, and maybe the volume of players you're drafting. How many offensive linemen start on the team? 5, right? Since 2012, Seattle has drafted 14 offensive line. Okay, since 2012. How many ever years that is? I think that's 9 or something. 5 in the first 3 rounds. They've also drafted 11 running backs since 2012, with 3 in the first 3 rounds. So the problem probably isn't necessarily, I'm taking on these projects and all this stuff. It's the amount of resources you're putting at your greatest asset, which is your quarterback. It's just not lining up to. If I were the GM, I would want to protect Russell Wilson, and that's kind of been the whole source of the argument. If I'm or like the kind of the tension or whatever between the organization and Wilson. Because he's been paid. Now he wants to be protected. And Jay, you said it was the best offensive line he's probably ever had. And they were still ranked the bottom 15 or like the bottom half of the league by PFF, which I know you're a huge PFF fan.
Oh, I love PFF. I don't know if you're talking to me or Mitchell, but
no, I was just saying. I was talking to you, Jay, because I thought you had mentioned something before that. But that's to me, that's an egregious error. When you have a coach who also has the personnel, he makes the personnel decisions, whatever. You draft 3 more offensive linemen than running backs in a 9-year span. That's egregious. That to me, that's my biggest problem with Pete Carroll. It's not his actual coaching. I think he's a decent X's and O's guy. The player, I've only ever heard that his players love him. But it's the
I'm
fact
gonna tell you my biggest problem I'm having here. This is the second time you've done this. You've been going and you've had great points, and then you defer to one of these guys. So I stop my clock, thinking that you're done, and then you keep talking, and I can't keep it up.
that's a trick of the trade right there, my friend.
I like it.
I didn't go to law school for 7 minutes for you to pull that for me not to pull that trick.
I'm gonna quit fucking with y'all about this time thing, man. No, because y'all are making valid points, and I feel bad. I'm sitting here.
We're nearing a final.
Yeah, we're getting there. So let the men speak. Let them.
Just call me a Mitch.
Well, let me say this one little last bit, I guess, or maybe not, but I feel like with all that's happened in this offseason, the thing that's kind of bothered me the most is the fact that this whole thing with Russell and his camp being unhappy with the Seahawks has kind of turned into Pete Carroll being a bad coach. And I just think that's false. What I will not debate is the fact that maybe Pete probably hasn't made the best moves in all of our opinions, to protect him. But at the same time, you also have to consider how Russell Wilson plays football. Okay, Russell Wilson isn't the kind of person who sits in the pocket and takes a sack. No, he's the kind of person who tries to extend a play and takes a sack in a very strange way. It's a hard job for an offensive lineman to block for Russell Wilson, okay? So when you talk about the personnel that they've had and what they've had to do, well, I mean, he's asking them to do something that hasn't ever been asked of, I think, in a lot of cases in offensive line play ever. So these guys, for what they're doing, I think kind of produce something. And then a lot of times Russell ends up taking a sack that he shouldn't take because of something that I don't really see why he's doing what he does. But when it works, everybody's fucking screaming, But when it doesn't, everybody's, oh, the offensive line sucks.
Yeah,
that's really my 2 cents on it. I just really hated that all of this kind of transitioned into the fact that Pete's not a good coach, because that's just not fair.
That's fair. Yeah, I was waiting on my cue. Okay, cool. No, I did. I was.
You have your closing statement.
Mm-hmm. Closing statement. I just wanted to rebut to Jay real quick, but just say, I was hoping you didn't bring that up, Jay, because that is a fair point, man. Honest to God, Russell Wilson plays football unlike pretty much anyone else, and we're starting to see it. He was kind of the prototype, right, for the Josh Allen, all these other guys, and I do agree with you on that point. I do think that it's harder to block for Russell Wilson than it is anyone else, but it's also a failing on the part of a coach with personnel decision-making ability to only draft 14 offensive linemen in 9 years. That just doesn't make sense. Russell Wilson, my closing statement, Jason, I'll get to it. I'm sorry. Russell Wilson has had 394 sacks through his first 9 seasons. Granted, some of those he took unnecessarily because of the way he plays football. I'm going to look at 3 other notable quarterbacks through their first starting 9 seasons. Tom Brady was at 244. Peyton Manning was at 170. John Elway, who plays a little more like Russell Wilson, was at 303. So he's fully 91. He's been sacked 91 more times than John Elway had in his first 9 seasons. That to me, it doesn't scream, I'm trying to take care of my quarterback, the most position, right, in football.
The most position.
Do you have more stats? Do you have more quarterbacks?
I don't have more quarterbacks in front of me, man. I just because I can pull it up real quick. If Jay has something to say real quick, I can pull it up and tell you.
Actually, I need to grab my charger. Hang on.
Okay. So go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
I want to know since we're on that subject. I want to know Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz.
Well, Carson Wentz, I can give you like an average or like a projection of that, but he hasn't played 9 seasons. So.
I'll tell you right now, Aaron Rodgers is apparently in his entire career has been sacked 468 times.
My man.
Wait, hold on. So we're talking about
he's been sacked. Their first 9 seasons. He's been sacked 332 times his first 9 seasons, Jason. So Russell that's Wilson. Aaron Rodgers. 332.
How many times has Russell Wilson been sacked?
394.
So it's still 70-some sack difference.
Yeah. Wentz.
Give me. All right, Jay. So what's happened is I asked him to compare Russell's career to that of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. We came about 70 more sacks to Russell. So project me Wentz.
Carson Wentz. You're going to make me do math. You're going to make me do math live. You son of a bitch.
Yes, I want you to do math.
So Carson started from day one. He was injured, of course, right? So his first, we'll say his first.
Never mind. I forgot this guy is constantly hurt.
He's
good point.
Well,
all right, so
I'll say this, man. He's been sacked 179 times in his career. He was sacked 50 times last year in 12 starts. So that's a lot of times to get sacked in 1 year. So, but I think it's unfair to say that Russell Wilson, you compare Russell Wilson to Carson Wentz, because Russell Wilson is like up here out of the shot, and Carson Wentz is like a middling quarterback. He had that one good season.
There's a reason to my madness.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. I apologize.
Yeah. So here's the deal. So if you have Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers came up about 70 better. Okay. All right. Has Aaron Rodgers ever had a Legion of Boom?
No.
Has he had super competent wide receivers?
I would argue that Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson are really competent receivers.
You wouldn't argue about any of the other ones? Greg Jennings?
I would say that Devontae Adams is, like you said, competent, right? He definitely has competence.
Super competent.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, man. Yep. Greg Jennings. Something Jones. I can't remember his first name now. He's an old man, but yeah. Russell. I mean, he's had James. Yes, thank you. He's had better weapons. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers has had better weapons than Russell Wilson. I don't. It's not a.
He's had better. He's had better offensive weapons. Mm-hmm. He's had better offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they play a lot. They're very similar in the way they play. They like to get outside of the box. So Wentz is the same way. Only he ends up hurt all the time. Mind you, with one of the best offensive lines, period, ever.
Yeah.
He continued to end up hurt the way that he plays football. So I have to say, I gotta overrule it. Russell Wilson has managed to continue to play ball. I can't remember him missing a game. He missed a game. I don't remember it.
He hasn't missed a game in his 9-year career.
Okay, so we have Carson Wentz, who plays the same style of side-to-side football. Best offensive line we might have ever seen. Ended up hurt 50% of the time. And then we have Aaron Rodgers, who had only 70 less sacks, but always had a stacked offense in front of him, had better offensive linemen, and the defense was never bad. Not that I can remember. Not bad.
No.
So it's fair to say Russell Wilson has played with no offense and a stacked defense.
I
look at the similarity of play, and you got to look what's around them. I mean,
I have one point on that.
Okay.
I don't have the stats up in front of me, but I will just say from what their team philosophies are, Aaron Rodgers has dropped back to pass probably hundreds of times more than Russell Wilson, and he's been sacked 70 times less. That's wild, man. Like you talk about in a pass rush. Hey, yeah, Doug Baldwin and freaking Doug Baldwin freaking what's his name?
Not Greg Jennings. Jennings.
No, he didn't. But they also
not Donald Driver.
Oh, let me let Jay back in.
Not James Jones.
There he is.
So not Devontae Adams.
Strange.
And I want to say something with that as far as that goes. I have some stats for this. That's because they ran the ball in Russell's first 1, 2, 3, his first 4 seasons, right? Right up until the Legion of Boom kind of started getting a little bit older, not being as great. They were in rush percentages number 1, 1, 2, 4. So from 2012 to 2015, 1, 1, 2, 4. the last 3 seasons, that's what they've tried. That's another big problem I have with Pete Carroll is he's trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. They don't have the personnel. They don't have the Legion of Boom anymore, especially they lost both of their corners to run the ball. You saw it was working last season. They were playing to Russell's strengths and the strengths of their team by having Russ cook. And then over the last 8 games of the season, he was like, I'm too old for this. I can't be seeing he can't throw the ball 35 times a game. This is not how you win football in 1973. And that's really my biggest problem. So you talk about him not having a great, whatever supporting cast or whatever. He didn't have to have a great supporting cast of receivers because he was handing the ball off 54% of the time in 2012, 52% of the time in 2013, 51, 46 in 2014 and 15. So his to me, his receiving core is irrelevant because they're not using them. They're given
well, he can't get sacked he's not going to get sacked handing the ball off.
Which to me brings a point up. How bad is that offensive line if he's been sacked that many times and he's handed the ball off?
Okay, I hear you. Let's just get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah, I was going to say, Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I think we've had a substantial amount of evidence on both sides, and that was a long ass.
Only one more question.
I'm just kind of curious about one thing too. That Eric just
go ahead,
said.
Jay. You go first.
I'm a little bit curious on I don't understand in an organization a lot of times who delineates what role to what person. Okay, so when Darrell Bevell was the offensive coordinator for Seattle Seahawks, from my understanding, Pete has very little to do with the offense. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Maybe you've heard different. This is more or less a question if you have or not. But when Brian Schottenheimer was there too, it is, my belief based off of what a lot of other people say too, and particularly the Seahawks subreddit, that he makes the calls on most of the offense. And you can even go back to the Super Bowl call. And I think Pete took the blame for it, but a lot of people even said that Pete didn't make that call. But I don't know. So blaming the whole offensive schema of run versus pass on him again, I don't know if that's fair because I'm not sure he made those calls.
Well, so the fact of the matter is that everyone in the NFL is going to make mistakes. Okay, even Bill Belichick, as far as coaches go. Even Bill Belichick, we've seen fall from grace. We've seen have a bad season. Okay, so I have to ask, of all the NFL coaches currently working right now, how many of those coaches, with their current team, have a Super Bowl ring, and how many?
That's me. I know Bruce Arians does. That's an easy one.
Jay has nothing. Jay's the defense.
Okay, that's fine. Bruce Arians, Eddie Reed, the last 2 folks.
Right,
I was going to say
how many though?
One apiece.
One apiece. Okay.
And then Bill Belichick has 6 with his current team.
Anyone else?
I was going to say, as far as I can remember, because I was not prepared for this question, I don't think so. I don't think anybody else has. Oh, Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll doesn't have.
Well, he's a terrible coach, like I've been telling y'all. No, yeah, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has one. No, absolutely, and yeah, Pete Carroll has a ring. I would take him number 4 out of all of those 4 coaches if that tells you anything. And I think you'd be crazy if you said anything else. He's clearly far and away the 4th best coach out of those 4.
All right, so let's stop for a second. Bruce Arians needed Tom Brady and everyone in the world to come play for him to get a Super Bowl ring. Pete Carroll did it with this terrible offensive line you've told us all about throughout the entire episode.
He also did it with the greatest defense that we've seen in forever. The defense that was 3 times in a row in 2012, 2013, 2014, number 1 in points scored in basically in holding opponents to the lowest amount of points.
Okay, but he didn't need TB12. He didn't need the greatest quarterback to ever play the fucking
I think
game.
I think it could be argued that Russell Wilson's almost as good as not almost as good. Russell Wilson's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He is a generational talent. He's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now.
Okay.
He needed Russell Wilson. He also needed the greatest defense that we've seen since probably the 2000s Ravens.
Yeah, but he didn't have a team dropped in his lap and then go out and get Tom Brady and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski out of retirement. Like, he didn't need the fucking Avengers, Eric. Okay,
no, that's fine.
Yes,
this need a team up episode to do this. Okay, okay. Who else did you say? You said Andy Reid.
I would take Andy Reid and Bill Belichick. Yes.
How long did it take Andy Reid to get a ring?
Long time.
Long fucking time, right?
Yeah.
Even though he was the shit in Philly, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
How long did it take Pete Carroll?
I mean, I'm not the one defending. I'm the judge.
Okay.
So, I mean, you ask Jay.
It just sounds like you have a bias already, but that's fine.
No, there's no bias.
It's kangaroo court. Kangaroo court.
This is kangaroo court, sir.
You're being ridiculous because we're talking about 4 men in the entire league coaching right now who got this on. Okay, Come on, you don't do that being a bad coach.
No, and once again, if I'm not saying Pete Carroll's a bad coach. I'm saying
that's literally what you're here to do.
No, I'm telling you, he is not utilizing the talent that he has. He's okay. Fuck it. He's kind of a bad coach because he's not utilizing the talent around him to the best degree. He still thinks he has the Legion of Boom. He's still operating in that way where he said, okay, Jay, to your point earlier, he's not the offensive coordinator. He's a defensive guy, right? He was a defensive coordinator, I think, with the Jets back in the day. Anywho, Brian Schottenheimer got fired or stepped down or whatever over philosophical differences in the offensive game plan, where this is what I've read and all the reports that I've seen. And Jay, you could probably talk better to this. The last 8 games of the season, for some reason, because they were 6-2, both halves of the season. So whatever they were doing, both of them worked. But they essentially stopped throwing the ball as much and started running the ball more with a not a great offensive line, a really not great, well, a decent defense is what I'll say. They were a good rush defense for sure. But yeah, man. And so, like, to me, a head coach, I don't really care about an X's and O's guy. Now, it's awesome to have Bruce Arians and Andy Reid as your offensive X's and O's guy. It's awesome to have Bill Belichick as your X's and O defensive guy. But I want somebody who can put players in the right position to utilize their talents the best way possible. And if you're telling me the coach has, at the end of the day, ultimate personnel power or whatever, and you've drafted like shit since 2012. Like literally 13, 14, 15, 16, how many every years that is? Jay, what's y'all's best player you've drafted since then? DK Metcalf?
Yeah, I would say so.
And he's going into his 3rd year in the league. So, I mean, there has to be some sort of burden placed upon his shoulders as far as that goes.
Yeah. Well,
Overruled. It was about coaching. It was not about drafting. It was not about drafting. It was about coaching.
A head coach does more than coach, though. A head coach is a figurehead. And especially a head coach that has, at the end of the day, the final say on personnel decisions.
But your exact comment was he drafted like shit since 2012. That's what you said.
Yeah, he's drafted like shit since 2000.
Yeah, but we're talking about coaching. We're not talking about drafting.
Okay, yeah, no, he's a good coach. I got no problem with that. He's a little old and stuck in his ways as far as running the ball.
That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Court is adjourned. Eric said he's a good coach. You lose.
That's funny.
Now you're just furious, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm gonna go.
Listen.
I'm gonna go.
And you can go ahead and call this a kneel down if you need to.
You want to, Jason? All right, hold on.
Let's go for it.
Let me pull it up here.
Let me pull it from the heavens.
Yeah.
Let me pull it down.
It's sprinkled down.
It's the kneel down. All right, look. they were deep in the they weren't deep in the playoffs, but they were in the playoffs. Okay, you had to play against the number one defense in football, and they're your division rival. Okay, you're going to go back and forth. We talked about it earlier. You were so excited to see all the parity in the NFL, right? Okay, based on those power rankings. Okay, the NFC West is the best division in football. I don't think any of us are going to argue about that. It's stacked. It's fully loaded. All right. So they beat the Rams beat them, and then they go in for the tiebreaker. You're playing the best defense in football. You said it. Best player they drafted since 2012 is probably DK Metcalf. Okay. But he's not getting around Jalen Ramsey. There's just a big problem there. Okay. But that doesn't make the Seahawks not a playoff team. And that doesn't mean the Seahawks aren't a competitive team that can make it all the way in the NFC. They just got massive problems within their own division, and no other team can claim that except for these NFC West teams. I don't see it in AFC anywhere. Not anymore. It really is an NFC exclusive issue. And I think you could argue that the NFC East will be a lot better this year and maybe have its own little issues, but nothing like the NFC West. Okay, it's its own beast. So at the end of the day, I just don't think – I think everything you said about the way that they've drafted there and the way that they've, not been able to put together an offensive line for Russell, and we never got to do that episode because free agency hit so hard, but we had a whole situation lined up for that offensive line. So it's nothing that I'm not aware of. But I will say you're in the most difficult division in football. You're still in the playoffs. You're fighting with your own guys, tooth and nail, and you got to beat the number one defense on the road and probably the number one corner in football and definitely the number one defensive tackle in football. And, again, they weren't ready to run. So everything you said about the end of the year with the change in play calls, we didn't see any of that in the playoffs. We saw him coach the way that you described you preferred. You saw you wanted Russ to just go out there and fucking fire it up. And that's exactly the way he coached. And that's what lost him that NFC playoff game. So when it's all said and done, I love you, brother, but you're wrong as fuck.
That was beautiful, man.
Well, I'm severely hurt and confused. I did a whole 2 days worth of research to be told I'm wrong. That's fine. No. Honestly, this was a lot of fun. I had a blast. And I told them before this all started, I know I'm gonna fucking lose. Pete Carroll's a great coach. I do like Pete Carroll. Honest to God, I do. I do think he's a little stuck in his ways. He wants to run the ball more than he should. But like Jay said, at the end of the day, it's not his freaking call to make. It's the offensive coordinator. So. Yeah.
Hey, man, and you know what? I think all of us could say it. If you've ever watched the tape on the guy, there's a few videos you can watch right now. They have like a day in the life of Pete Carroll. Man, if you've ever seen him mic'd up, there's very few guys in the league that you'd probably rather play for. Me and Cam we get to have Vrabel. We get to have a fun, young, athletic guy as a coach.
We have the opposite in Dallas.
Carroll. You look at Pete Carroll; he's the polar opposite. But God damn it, he looks like a lot of fun to play for. Yeah. And I think his players.
No, I was gonna say if you guys want to do, we can do McCarthy next week or Vrabel next week or something. I'd love to come on for that because I'll do some research on that and maybe bring up some very great points. But one more thing before when we kind of talk about last season with Seattle, though, we kind of had the tale of two tapes. When you talk about let Russ cook, which I really hate that phrase, but in the beginning of the season, the first 8 games, we didn't really have pass rush, okay? So a lot of games in the first 8 were playing from behind. And I meant to make this point. I just kind of lost track of all the different points you were making, Eric, but the last 8 games, Carlos Dunlap comes in, and all of a sudden the defense has a spark to it. We're not playing, the same situational football in games where we have to get downfield. We have to get touchdowns. That's when you kind of saw what a lot of people referred to with shoddy being a run pass, like very predictable offense. So I don't know. I kind of you have the tale of two tapes there with the last season of the Seahawks. But anyway, again, I think next week would be great if we do somebody else's coach. I'll come on again if you
don't like that. Don't like that.
I'm not talking about Mike McCarthy. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to go there.
I don't think you should go with McCarthy. I mean, I'll gladly stand up for Vrabel. Shit, I'll stand up for any of them.
There it is.
What do you want me to do? You pick.
All right.
Tell me who
we got two of y'all defending Vrabel.
Yeah. I think Jason would be well more equipped for this.
If I could just tell people to shut the fuck up and then tell Jason that he's wrong at the end, that would be fine with me. No matter what he says, you're wrong.
You really hated me being judged today, and I'm glad.
Listen. I did not like this at all. When I don't like being told I'm wrong. No, it's good. No, I'll just keep telling myself, no, it's good. It's fucking fine. It's fine. No big deal. But I don't know, Jay, this was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate you popping on here with us. And
thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yep, and we'll figure out what coach we're gonna pick to dissect. I'm good with
let's bring Trent or one of them on. Let's bring a fifth person on here, and let's let
Mike Tomlin.
Let's do.
We can have 10 people. We can have 10 people.
Let's bring the Steeler boys on here, and let's just roast the shit out of them. Let's tell them that it's going to be a debate, and let's just fucking end up just roasting them for an hour. Oh shit, they're probably watching. No, I take that back. We're going to give you a fair fucking trial.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, we'll jump off of here. But appreciate everybody popping in here and listening. And we'll be back again Saturday. We don't really have an idea for what we're going to do Saturday, do we? We'll see.
Oh, the TV show. We got to do the TV show.
Yeah. Yep. We're gonna be doing some fun stuff on Saturdays. Less football, more fun stuff. So, but anyways, yes. Once again, thanks for everybody for tuning in. For Jay, for Cam, for Jason. This is Eric, EJC NFL Pod. Once again, check us out on Twitter, all that stuff. Dungeons and Drag Routes YouTube channel. There's hilarious videos. Cam does an awesome job on those. One of these days, Jay is going to be in there with us because he'll have to make a cool video for us. But other than that, there you go. Other than that, we're out of here. Y'all be good. Take care.